What's up, guys? Welcome to part 2 of Science in 5 Minutes or Less. Today we're going to be talking about something similar to last time, but with a twist. So it's going to be unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated solutions. What is that? What am I talking about? Let's get into it. Okay? So before I talk about it, let's look at each definition separately. So you have saturated solutions, which is a solution that holds the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a particular solvent at a particular temperature. So that's a lot of words. Just picture this, right? It's the maximum amount it can hold, right? So let's say we are taking water and we're just putting the solute sugar water, and we just put as much sugar as we can into that water where it no longer dissolves, but when we look at the bottom, we see there's a little bit of sugar left, right? Like if you did Kool-Aid, and I keep going back to Kool-Aid because Kool-Aid is so good, but right, if you take Kool-Aid and you put way too much sugar, you're gonna see that sugar at the bottom. That's because it's holding the maximum it can. So it's saturated. And then if that's saturated, unsaturated is like what it sounds like. A solution to which more solute can be dissolved, right? So that's your weak Kool-Aid, right? Like if you were to start off with Kool-Aid, you put the powder, the water, and the sugar, and you just put a little bit of sugar, which is the wrong way, put a lot of sugar. But if you put a little bit of sugar, it doesn't taste very good. And you can notice it's like, you go like that, you can dissolve. When you add more sugar, you can keep adding more sugar and it's still dissolved. So you're basically able to add more. That's what unsaturated is. Not enough. So I think of it unsaturated as it doesn't have enough yet. It can still hold more. And I think of saturated as I've put in everything it can hold. I need to stop putting stuff in that solution because it's full. Okay. And we have two examples right here. NaCl is salt. So I forget the sugar for now. Let's just say salt. But if I take 30 grams of salt, I put it in 100 ml of water. We notice it's empty. You don't see anything at the bottom. That's unsaturated. I could still fit in more, right? Let's say this time I take 40 grams of NaCl into the same amount of water, but then I notice I still have this little bit that didn't dissolve. I tried stirring it, nothing worked. It stays undissolved. That's what we call a saturated solution. You've put in the maximum amount it can hold. Anything else you put in there will sink to the bottom, okay? And the last thing, we have supersaturated. This is really fun stuff. I'm going to try to show you if I have time, but a supersaturated solution, we won't be able to do it in class, but I'll try to talk about it. It's really cool. A supersaturated solution looks, sorry, let me start here. You first off, to get a supersaturated solution, you start with a saturated. It's holding the max, but the only difference here is you add heat. You add this fire, and all of a sudden, now that it's hotter, remember, it can hold more, and it'll look like this. It'll look unsaturated, but we had to add heat for that to happen. So this one, even though it looks unsaturated, it's actually supersaturated, not unsaturated. That's super important. If it looks unsaturated, what's the key difference? The key difference is it was already saturated. It already had the most it could hold. You had to add heat, and then it went back down once you took it off the heat, and it looks like this, but it is still holding way more than it should because you added heat, you changed the game. And something cool that happens is when you touch a super saturated solution, when you touch it, you get these crystals start to form because it's unstable. You put way too much. So it starts to form and crystallize, and it turns into ice. And it basically does, let me see if I have time for this, but it does this. And you would have seen this in class. The second it would have touched, it's unstable. You put more wear, and it wants to be a solid. It doesn't want to be in a liquid state. So it starts turning back into a solid. And that's basically what happens. And it's a really cool effect. So to summarize, unsaturated, not enough, saturated, maximum, and supersaturated, maximum, but you added heat. And that is it for today.